The galaxy had always watched Earth with mild curiosity, as one might glance at a distant campfire burning on the horizon. A young species, noisy and restless, clawing its way into the stars with steel hulls and stubborn determination. Their technology was crude compared to the ancient empires, their colonies small, their fleets insignificant. And yet, there was something about humanity that made the great powers uneasy. For in the span of only a few centuries, Earth's people had accomplished what others took millennia to achieve. They spread like wildfire, resilient and unpredictable, their warships carrying an aura of defiance that unsettled even the most established of galactic rulers. The whispers were always there, soft and cautious, beware of the Terrans. They are different. Then, without warning, the event happened. One day, Earth's fleet, its entire armada of battleships, carriers, and dreadnoughts, simply vanished. Gone from their patrol routes. Gone from their stations. Gone from their colonies. Dozens of systems reported the same chilling discovery: the humans had abandoned their borders, leaving nothing behind but silence. The galaxy erupted in speculation. Some said it was collapse, humanity finally buckling under the weight of its own ambition. Others whispered of civil war, of a hidden disaster, of a great enemy that had come in the night. But no one knew the truth. And the truth was far more terrifying than any of them imagined. Because fleets do not simply disappear. Not fleets built by mankind. And soon, the galaxy would realize, the vanishing was not an end. It was the beginning. The first report came from the Kuiper line. A Terran listening post, orbiting a lonely shard of ice beyond Neptune, went silent. When the patrol ship Athena arrived to investigate, its crew found nothing: no distress beacon, no wreckage, no sign of struggle. The station was simply gone, as if it had never existed. At first, the disappearance was dismissed as an accident, perhaps an engine failure that dragged the outpost into the gravity well of a passing rock. But then the colonies along Proxima Centauri went dark. Their fleets, once stationed proudly above the orbital platforms, were missing. And when the Galactic Trade Council checked their long-range scanners, the results sent ripples across the stars: Earth's fleet signatures had vanished from the grid. It was not a retreat to safe harbors. It was not reorganization. It was as if an entire civilization had erased its presence from known space. Across the galaxy, the great empires stirred. The Kareth Dominion, whose warlords thrived on conquest, smelled opportunity. The Valari Ascendancy, elegant and ancient, watched with unease. Even the silent Azari collectives turned their vast sensor arrays toward the Sol sector, hunting for answers. The High Council of the Galactic Core convened within days. Their chambers, a cathedral of glass and starlight, hummed with voices raised in disbelief. Ambassadors argued, data flickered across towering holoscreens, and words like collapse, extinction, and threat were whispered with growing fear. Ambassador Threx of the Kareth bared his fangs in a grin. Humans have finally broken under their own arrogance. Their fleets are gone, their worlds unguarded. I say we move in before scavengers claim the spoils. The Valari representative, draped in silver robes that shimmered like liquid light, shook her head slowly. No. Humans do not simply vanish. I have studied them. Their history, their wars, their uncanny ability to rise from ashes. This is not collapse. It is something else. But no one listened. The following week saw expeditions sent to human space. Raiders, prospectors, entire fleets entered the Sol sector expecting to find abandoned colonies and shattered defenses. What they found instead was worse: emptiness. Earth remained, its blue oceans and green continents untouched, but orbiting it were no defense stations, no carriers, no signs of military presence. Mars was quiet, its shipyards deserted. The outlying colonies at Alpha Centauri, Barnard Star, and Wolf 359 were ghost towns, their skies empty. And yet, something lingered. Ships that ventured too close reported strange sensor echoes. A flash of movement, a distortion of space, the feeling of being watched. Entire scouting vessels vanished without transmitting a distress call, their signals cut mid-broadcast. At first, the galaxy thought it was human traps, cloaked mines, or ambushes. But no wreckage was ever found. Rumors spread like wildfire. The humans discovered something and followed it beyond the veil. They've unlocked forbidden technology and now dwell outside our reality. They're preparing for war on a scale none of us can imagine. Fear grew. Empires that once mocked humanity now debated in hushed tones what their disappearance meant. Some called for preemptive strikes, to burn Earth to cinders before the Terrans returned. Others urged restraint, warning that to provoke the unknown was folly. Meanwhile, within the shadows of space, strange transmissions began to leak. Fragments of human voices, speaking in broken code. A line of static here, a burst of sound there. One transmission, captured by a Valari scout ship, chilled every council member who heard it. "We are not gone. We are waiting." The voice was unmistakably human. Calm. Confident. Certain. The council erupted into chaos. What did it mean? Waiting for what? Some claimed it was a bluff, a desperate attempt to mask weakness. But those who had studied mankind closely, those who remembered their wars and victories against impossible odds, felt a shiver crawl down their spines. Because humans did not bluff. They prepared. The Kareth Dominion, impatient and arrogant, decided to test the silence. They launched a fleet of 50 warships toward Earth itself, their guns primed, their soldiers eager to carve trophies from the cradle of mankind. The galaxy held its breath. For days, transmissions from the Kareth fleet continued as normal, boasts of victory to come, threats to the vanished cowards. Then, without warning, the signals stopped. Every ship, every soldier, every trace of their armada vanished just as Earth's fleet had. Not a single piece of wreckage drifted back into the void. It was as if the warlords had never existed. Fear turned to panic. Whispers haunted every council chamber, every palace, every war room across the stars. Something was happening in the dark, something orchestrated, deliberate, and terrifyingly precise. Humanity had not disappeared because of weakness. No, they had chosen to vanish. And whatever they were preparing for, the galaxy realized with dawning horror, it was already too late to stop it. The Kareth Dominion had always been loud in their victories. But now, in their silence, the galaxy heard only dread. 50 warships had entered soul space, 50 warships had vanished. Not destroyed. Not crippled. Simply gone, as though swallowed by the void itself. No debris fields. No distress calls. No survivors. The High Council chambers, once buzzing with arrogance and speculation, became tomb quiet. Even the proudest empires, those who claimed dominion over hundreds of systems, suddenly found their voices faltering. The vanishing was no longer a curiosity, it was a contagion. The Valari Ascendancy sent covert agents, their sleek obsidian ships slipping like shadows through the borders of abandoned human colonies. They returned with fragmented reports, ghost signals, gravitational distortions, flickers of vast shapes lurking at the edges of sensor range. One agent, voice trembling in her final transmission, whispered a phrase before her vessel dissolved into static. "They are not gone. They are everywhere." The Azari collectives, beings of machine intelligence, flooded human space with drones and probes. Most never returned. Those that did carried data so corrupted it bordered on madness, warped images of impossible geometries, human warships shimmering in and out of existence, fleets that appeared like mirages and dissolved when approached. But buried within the corrupted code, one fragment repeated itself with chilling clarity. "Wait for the signal." The word spread through the galaxy like infection. Every council, every throne room, every back-alley smuggler spoke them in fear. Wait for the signal. What signal? Who was it meant for? Theories multiplied. Some claimed humans had discovered ancient precursor technology, hidden deep beneath their oceans or locked away in their history, and had used it to vanish beyond the normal fabric of space. Others whispered of pacts with entities older than the stars, bargains struck in exchange for power no species should wield. But there were those who spoke of something simpler, something far more terrifying. Humans had not disappeared at all. They had learned to hide. Within the galactic core, panic transformed into calculation. The empires began shifting their fleets, fortifying their borders. Trade lanes were rerouted, colonies evacuated, entire systems abandoned under the shadow of an enemy that was unseen but omnipresent. The Kareth Dominion, humiliated by the loss of its armada, demanded war. Their warlords spat fury in the council halls, calling for a united strike to burn Earth before humanity's plans could reach fruition. But their voices were drowned by fear. None wanted to repeat the fate of the Kareth fleet. Meanwhile, something darker stirred. Across the galaxy, strange disappearances multiplied, not just in human space, but along the borders of rival empires. Patrol ships went missing, colonies reported phantom vessels drifting in the void, and entire stations transmitted distorted human voices before vanishing altogether. And always, the same message followed. We are waiting. On the far edge of the Orion Arm, a smuggler named Rin Vale made a discovery that would change everything. His freighter had stumbled across an abandoned relay drifting near Barnard Star, a relay humming with encrypted Terran transmissions. Against his better judgment, Rin cracked the code, broadcasting the fragments across shadow networks that reached every corner of the galaxy. The recordings were short, clipped, but unmistakably real. Fleet relocation complete. Phase 2 in effect. Singularity drive stable. Awaiting final sequence. Do not engage prematurely. All units hold. It was proof. Proof that the humans had not collapsed, had not fallen into chaos or extinction. They had gone dark by choice. The effect was immediate. Entire civilizations recoiled, realizing with cold horror that humanity's silence was not weakness, but preparation. In the Ascendancy archives, historians pulled out records long buried, tales of Earth's earliest wars. How they had fought each other with weapons that scorched continents, how they rebuilt from ruins again and again, never staying broken. A single phrase echoed through those records, a Terran proverb that unsettled even the most ancient scholars. We do not prepare for peace. We prepare for the day war finds us. The Valari ambassador, pale with dread, brought this saying to the council. You must understand, she pleaded, her voice heavy with urgency. Humans vanish not because they are afraid, but because they are sharpening the knife. But it was too late for warnings. Because the first reappearance happened. Near the binary suns of Delta Pavones, a Valari patrol ship stumbled upon something impossible, a human dreadnought, larger than anything ever catalogued, materializing from the void like a phantom pulled from a dream. Its hull shimmered with distortions, as though reality bent to contain it. The patrol captain hailed it, his voice shaking. For a moment, silence answered. Then, across the void, the human warship spoke with a calm, resonant signal. Do not interfere. The signal has not yet come. Before the Valari crew could respond, the dreadnought dissolved into nothingness, leaving only the echo of its words. The patrol returned broken, half its crew refusing to speak of what they had seen. Those who did claim the human ship was not a vessel at all, but a moving fortress, armed with weapons that could twist space itself. Whispers spread faster than light. Humanity had built something new, something beyond comprehension. Not merely fleets, but phantoms, ghost warships that appeared and disappeared at will. The galaxy trembled. But there was still one question no one could answer, waiting for what? That question hung like a shadow over every star system, every empire. Some fled inward, fortifying their cores. Others began secret experiments to match humanity's new technology, desperate to keep pace. Alliances fractured, paranoia flourished, and yet, still, no one dared strike Earth again. The cradle of humanity sat in silence, oceans glittering, cities glowing faintly in the dark. But above it, in the unseen currents of space, something vast shifted, something no sensor could fully comprehend. The humans had vanished, yes. But the silence was only the inhale before the storm. And in the council chambers of the galaxy's greatest empires, leaders found themselves uttering a phrase they had once laughed at, now spoken in trembling reverence. When the Terrans return, nothing will be the same. The galaxy had grown used to living in fear. Weeks turned into months, and still the Terrans remained unseen, phantoms haunting the edges of sensor arrays, shadows whispered of in war councils, voices echoing through corrupted transmissions. Every empire, from the smallest trade syndicate to the vast dominions that spanned spiral arms, had reshaped itself around the silence. Borders bristled with guns. Alliances cracked under suspicion. And in the dark void between stars, an unspoken truth lingered: no power dared move too boldly, for fear that the humans were watching. But the waiting could not last forever. It began in the core. A transmission, broad, unstoppable, flooding every channel, every frequency, every starship's comms across the galaxy. It was not coded, not hidden, not restrained. It was human, raw and deliberate. The voice was steady, calm, resonant. This is Earth. The signal has come. And then the stars themselves trembled. In the skies above distant worlds, distortions bloomed. Space rippled as if stirred by unseen hands. Fleets emerged, not slowly, not with warning, but all at once, as though reality itself tore open to deliver them. Terran warships, hundreds, no, thousands of them, appeared across the galaxy in perfect synchronization. Every empire, every border, every trade route found itself facing the sudden arrival of humanity's fleet. They were not the old ships the galaxy remembered. These were leviathans of steel and shadow, their forms cloaked in a distortion field that bent light and warped sensors. Their hulls glowed faintly with impossible geometries, as though human engineering had fused with something beyond comprehension. Each vessel pulsed with energy that hummed like thunder in the bones of those who beheld them. And not one fired a shot. Instead, they simply held position, looming, silent, undeniable. Panic spread across the galaxy. Armies scrambled, empires screamed for retaliation, but no command was given. Because humanity had not come to conquer. They had come to reveal. The second transmission came minutes later. A broadcast of images, data, and visions stitched together into one overwhelming revelation. The humans had not vanished to build weapons. They had not disappeared to wage war. They had gone dark because they had found something. Beyond the rim of known space, hidden deep within the void, they had uncovered a network, ancient, colossal, a lattice of gateways older than the galaxy itself. Structures dormant for eons, waiting for activation. Humanity had awakened them. And now, the galaxy saw it through Terran eyes, corridors of light stretching between galaxies, bridges of energy capable of carrying fleets in the blink of an eye. A network that turned the vast, cold void into a connected web. The vanishing had been no retreat. It had been the construction of something greater, the unification of every Terran ship into a fleet tasked with securing, repairing, and mastering this ancient system. You feared we were preparing for war, the human voice echoed across the stars. But we were preparing for the future. Reactions tore across the empires. Some saw opportunity, trade routes spanning galaxies, wealth beyond comprehension. Others saw only threat, humanity holding the keys to power that could unmake civilizations overnight. But humanity's fleets made their intentions clear. On every world where they appeared, they spoke the same words. We offer a choice. Stand with us, and the stars are yours. Stand against us, and be left behind. It was not conquest. It was ultimatum. The Kareth Dominion, still reeling from their lost fleet, roared defiance. They launched their warships against the human dreadnoughts orbiting their capital world. The battle lasted less than an hour. The Kareth fleet vanished as their predecessors had, not destroyed, not even fired upon, simply gone, erased by weapons that bent reality itself. The message was unmistakable: resist, and you would cease to exist. But most did not resist. World after world, empire after empire, bowed, not out of submission, but out of awe. The humans had not returned as conquerors, but as heralds of something larger than empire, larger than war. They had returned as the custodians of a pathway to the infinite. The Valari ambassador, who had always warned the Council of Humanity's resilience, was the first to kneel in open chamber. The stars themselves have chosen them, she whispered, voice trembling with wonder. And we are but guests at their table. On Earth itself, celebrations erupted. For months, its people had lived under the same veil of silence, uncertain whether their fleets would ever return. Now, the skies filled with ships, shining titans of a new age. Humanity had not only survived, they had ascended. The galaxy, watching in breathless disbelief, finally understood the truth. The mysterious fleet had not disappeared. It had transformed, become something beyond mere defense or conquest. The humans had stepped into the role of gatekeepers, the ones who would decide who could cross the ancient bridges and who would remain stranded in the dark. And in that moment, the balance of power shifted forever. The final transmission came days later, spoken not in threat, but in quiet certainty. We are not your enemies. We are not your conquerors. We are humanity. And we will never vanish again. For centuries afterward, historians would mark the vanishing not as the end of an era, but as the beginning of one. The day the galaxy discovered that Earth, once dismissed as a backwater world, had risen to stand at the very heart of the stars. And in every corner of the galaxy, from the humblest colony to the thrones of empires, one truth lingered, etched into memory like fire across the void. When the humans disappeared, the galaxy feared the worst. When they returned, the galaxy realized the truth. Humanity had not hidden from the stars. They had become them.